the deadline yesterday morning. I would have gotten in there. And Tom outlines for us the 5 stages of digital transformation. We don't need to change. That's denial. Anger. Why is everything changing? And bargaining. What's the minimum we have to change? Depression. I'll never be able to change. And acceptance. Maybe if we just change the CMO. And of course, I love Tom's stuff, but it's too true. So he says 21% of firms think their transformation is done and dusted. Really, and another 22% are investigating or not transforming at all, and 56 are transforming. All right. For example, only 34% of banks and insurers are even bothering to transform their marketing. Only 45% are transforming their customer care. And that's about the same way it is everywhere. It's likely attributed to the CMO's high turnover rate, right? Now, yesterday I was going to touch on an article, I should have brought it up, that says that the CMO and the CIO are merging because marketing and information, are both sort of getting information from outside of the corporate structure. And so, I'm always buying into Tom's thing. But these are the stages of grieving. So if you're an old white-haired marketing guy like me, you might be grieving, and I'm going to talk about the real world now. And I think you'll enjoy that. Okay. So Scott Moore says, enjoyable sensory experiences drive 9 out of 10 shoppers back into the stores. And, he cites a study that surveyed 10,000 consumers, and 9 out of 10 of them, 90%, said it was because of their shopping experience. I started thinking about shopping experience, and I think I shared one with you about the chickens in the shoe store in Costa Rica. I can't go back there. I mean, I could, but it's a long drive. But I'll never forget it. Dirt floors. I don't think there was any music playing, but it was unique. And I remember going into a store, probably in Kentucky, and when you used to drive south on 41 before there were interstates, can you believe that this country, there was a before there were interstates? Yes, there was. And we'd wind our way through the hills of Kentucky, and there'd be these places alongside the road, smoked ham and stuff like that. And you'd go in there, and they were just an eclectic pile of stuff, like the Pickers show, their store, only not snazzy. And I remember in one of the stores, they had this electric motor going, and it was spinning a wheel, and then that was spinning another wheel slower, and then that was spinning another wheel slower, and they had a whole series of these, and they were showing how slow, that this one would take like a year to turn once, and the last one said, if you could fasten the earth to this wheel, you could move the earth, which gets at the Greek mathematician who said if with a lever long enough and a place to stand it on, you could move the earth. But anyway, it had apparently mathematically enough torque to lift or move the earth. And I'll never forget that. That was in a retail store just alongside the road in Kentucky. So I think there have been a lot of experiences I've had in my life that I remember. If I think back, Jackson's department store when I was a kid, or the soda fountain at the pharmacy. Yes, there were soda fountains when I was a kid. Anyway, so it matters. Now, where I deviate from Scott here is, and he explains how important music is, and I like the Piggly Wiggly because it always has sort of like oldies playing, probably because most of the customers are my age. And I remember the Red Owl used to smell like bad meat. It went under, and it should have gone under, and rightly so. And so, I think he's right that you need to be very sensitive to the in-store feeling. On the other hand, I go to this grocery store. We won't say the name, Sendix. But I told my wife it's like a jewelry store of food. And I know everything's more expensive because they don't utilize their space worth a darn. Or you can go to Woodman's around here and it's tightly packed and you're going to get a good deal. I think that it's important that in retail, in direct mail, in even email and digital, that you be consistent. If you're talking about sale and low price, make it look like your nephew built the ad. Don't make it too slick. And if you're going to be selling upscale goop, I saw Gwen Paltrow, I don't know how to say her name, but is extending her brand to men. So I'm looking forward to that because I've always liked her. I don't know what she even sells. What is goop? But anyway, very upscale look to what she does, at least to me. I used to buy from Miss Clairol for hair color, but I gave up on that, as you can tell. Anyway, all that aside, there's a new study out, and my buddy Ray Schultz wrote this one, so I like it. Deloitte Touche, and there was a couple, or just Deloitte, they call it now. There was a couple of articles on this study, and Ray's was the most pessimistic, pointing out young people have little faith in mass media, probably rightly so, and the possibility of social progress. When we were raised as boomers, we were raised in front of the TV set, the first generation ever, and we believed everything, and TV felt like they had to tell the truth. Now they're trying to get clicks, and they don't care about the truth at all. And I'm not saying it's just CNN. I think Fox has pretty much the same business model. I think, I watch a lot of stuff, and they all are kind of clickbait because they got to get me to click, and they measure it. So the crazy headlines get the story, get the clicks. And so they, how can they trust media? We used to sit with our kids in front of the TV and say, what are they trying to pitch here? What are they trying to sell you when they're pretending to give it away for free? Okay, millennials feel like most businesses are out for profit. And that's, it's only out for profit. Here's the funny part. They will support companies that reflect their values, but those companies tend to go under. And when they change, like what was it? Was it Starbucks? It was somebody started a bunch of pay as much as you feel like paying. And, that reward, that's the fallacy of the commons. And what happens is that the model incentivizes taking advantage of others. And that's the difference. Socialism incentivizes taking advantage of others, whereas capitalism incentivizes bringing value to the marketplace. It's as simple as that, if you want two sentences. And so the problem is the millennials they have a higher debt ratio than the boomers, partly because they went to college. And in college, they don't teach you that sentence. They ignore the history. But anyway, so they want to travel. They want to have an impact on society, which is all great. But, they're hard to sell to. At least that's so they say. Now, what's interesting is, and we'll move over here. The trouble is I've got this. I wanted to couple this, and I'm running out of time. I wanted to couple this. There's some simple things about the millennials, or about the boomers and the Gen Zs, and they like to go to the store, it turns out. So here's a blueprint from Jeremy Watkin. Great article. He bought some tires at a bad place. In this one, he said, hey, they came over. They said, what do you want? What kind of car do you have? We'll help you. They had 5 sizes in stock that would fit his car. They did it in an hour. The previous store he went to ignored him, pushed him through a lot of rigmarole, didn't say hello, said, you got to buy the tires online. Took him a week. They didn't answer the phones. Okay, so here's my takeaway. Really, really good. What? Jeremy Watkin. We'll have to connect with him. Jeremy, you're 100% right. You're more right than 90% of the articles I read, because what you figured out and discerned is that when we talk about the customer ambiance and experience, we're not talking about a store that reads your mind and predicts what you'll want. I went to the hardware store yesterday, and I walked in without the right information. I said, I'm looking for a switch nut, but I didn't know what it was called. He said, let's go to the switches and see what kind of nuts they got. And we found the switches, and they were all the same size. And I said, now let's go over to the nuts and see if we can take this switch over and see if we can fix it. The kid didn't really know anything, but he was helping me kind of find my way through the switches. And then there's a box that said switch nuts. Woohoo! So for 90 cents, I fixed the switch on my vacuum cleaner. But the point is that when I go to Beeble's True Value, they are helpful. They greet you. They drop what they're doing and they come and help. Even if they're not much help, there's still a lot of help because you got me right to the right aisle, and away we go. That is sustainable, genuine customer experience. And Jeremy's point is, sometimes it's about, do you have it in stock? Can you help me? Can you explain to me the difference between 3 or 4 or 5 different tires? And that is better than all of the online searching that will take you years and years and years. Let's go down to the conclusion. The conclusion, when you make it as easy as possible for customers to do business with you, they not only continue to do business with you, but they'll encourage others, as I'm doing now, to do the same. He mentions Les Schwab, tire place. He says, I'm pretty sure I paid a little more, but I got it done in an hour instead of a week online. I'm John Miglosh. Like and share. Think about what you're putting your customers through. And on that note, I got to call some of my good prospects that were going around a little bit in circles.